Hi, welcome to the Pursuit of Truth. So I was watching a three-part Sky documentary about the disappearance and murder of Libby Squires, and what worried me was the aspect of the police saying that they'd done due diligence when it came to the previous offences of the man that was found guilty of the rape and murder of Libby Squires, Pavel. I've forgotten his surname now, but he they showed like a map of these burglaries of sex toys and of voyeurism and masturbation that happened in front of young women around the sort of similar areas. Like it seemed streets apart, and there was one street where it had like 8 offences, and in his car boot they found sex toys and underwear and pictures of young ladies, and therefore and he was found guilty of some of these offences, or he pleaded guilty for some of these offences to do with the sexual acts. So they said they did due diligence because they found his semen on one place, and they tested that, and because he had no previous offences, they didn't, there was no match. And with the fingerprint that they found, there was no match. But my issue with this is, in this documentary, they showed how with the disappearance of Libby Squires, they followed her through the council CCTV and through privately owned CCTV to try and see where she went. And then when they located him on this, they followed him through council CCTV and through private CCTV. So my question with them suggesting they did due diligence is, why didn't they use the same procedure when it came to him exposing himself, the voyeurism, the burglaries, which maybe they may say in isolation is not that serious, but for the people who have to live through it, it is. And still a crime, all of them. So as I assume CCTV footage from the council is either patrol, is owned by the police, or they're the ones monitoring it, or it wouldn't be difficult for them to obtain that. They wouldn't need a court order, I assume, to obtain council footage, being the police. Maybe privately owned, it depends on the owner whether they give it, or then they may need some kind of court document, but I guess most private businesses will give it for free. So why couldn't they have done that if they knew? Because I assume like there was a lady, I think Holly was her name. She said that he came on the windowsill of a lower flat, stood there, opened the window, and looked at her when it was a hot day. And so therefore she may have seen his face. That may be where the fingerprint came from, or I think it was a used condom that was found there. So there may have been a semen sample there, but they would have, that's the evidence they need then to match with. So then they could have gone to the council CCTV. I assume it was a normal house on a normal street. It seems like there's council CCTV on every street, or most streets, that that don't have dead ends. So could they have not gone through that, and then they would have seen him, and they could have traced him back to his house like they did with the Libby Squire case? That's how they found him, by tracing him back from the estuaries back to his house and to the chicken shop afterwards. So I don't know why that wasn't done. And it's not like there were burglaries. Surely the burglaries, they would have had their own CCTV. Didn't that show him there? Couldn't they then, once they've seen him, then they could trace him back through the council CCTV and find him back to his house? I assumed he used some of the roads that he did when he was going home from Libby Squires. He drove as well. Although what did alarm me a little bit was the council CCTV. I don't know what purpose it's for. I assume it's for crime and for driving offences and etc. But the quality was so bad, you couldn't see any detail of the person, of the face. You just see blobs, so they had to follow those, and you couldn't read a registration either. So I do wonder what the purpose of it is there. That is also a problem, that why haven't they updated to at least HD quality. I don't even if know it was SD quality. It might have been SD quality. I know it's late at night, and but with the these days you can do infrared, you can do in the night, and you can use HD or even 4K. People can buy their own security cameras 4K for about £100 to do in their own houses. So I don't see that the council couldn't replace and update at least a HD, if not 4K. But I guess in the long run, what they really need to do with these cameras is wire them up to a computer and use AI technology, which could be preventing these things by scanning all this information, scanning, real-time computer process that would be difficult to pay people, or would difficult for humans to go through, or to look for these discrepancies, these things that don't add up, these crimes. A bit like Minority Report, I guess, but without the knowledge of it, and watch and then highlight these things, and they could trace back things. It'd be a lot easier for them to do that, and especially if the quality was better. Because in this case, it looks like there was, before the Libby Squire incident, there was 8 to 10 known cases, which he eventually did plead guilty for some of those. So if he'd been caught then, maybe he wouldn't have got custody or a sentence, who knows? But it may have been enough to warn him off, to think that he couldn't get away with doing these things anymore, and he would have stopped, and Libby Squires may still be alive. So I think these types of cases, when it comes to these issues of, things that happen to women late at night, following the masturbation, the voyeurism, the, trying to wait for them out of nightclubs and all that kind of stuff that we know is happening, and burglaring, etc. We know that the police don't seem to take these things too seriously. It's like I saw a story recently that now, for the first time in, I can't remember where it is, in the UK someplace, the police are going to go to every burglary. I thought they already had to do that. They're not doing that already? They just won't turn up if someone's burgled your house? So it seems like they're not, I know they're small crimes and maybe they won't get time in prison, or they see that it may only be a short amount and they don't have enough space in prisons. But if you stop people at these early stages, you may, also from the fact of human rehabilitation, you may be able to save these human beings from doing things in the future, because they will get caught doing something in minor. And then maybe they can get rehabilitated so they don't do something major. This is good for them, and it's also good for us as human beings, that and those people whose lives may be saved from, we all hear these serial killer stories where they started off killing cats and skinning them and doing things like that, and then they go on to murdering people. If you get them in these early stages, you may be able to prevent that. So I think when it comes to this case in due diligence, I think it wasn't done by the police, because they didn't use the CCTV and private CCTV that they could have used to track this man and track him back to his house, as they did with the Libby Squires case. They proved that it's possible to do that, even though the pictures weren't great. And that's the other thing, is to improve the technology. I know it's cost of living, it all needs money. Of course, the root of this, as I always talk about the old ways, is the way we live as humans is probably the cause of why these things. Why did this man do this? Some crimes, yes, you can't change the system to be able to do this, but if you didn't have money and you didn't have all these other issues that cause mental issues, putting pressure on us, division and borders and all that kind of stuff. I suppose with these kinds of animalistic crimes, they may be part of humanity. I don't know whether we are taught to be killers, we're taught to rape people, or whether it is something that we learn, or some kind of, well, not learn, no one learns to become a murderer or rapist, but in the sense that these small little things through TV, through life events and hardships and etc., that guide you down those paths. I'm not trying to exonerate any of these people, but what I'm trying to look at is, we know there's an issue. How do we solve that issue? What causes these things? Maybe there is no cause, and it is just part of these human beings that they do come onto this. And even if you had a perfect world, a perfect system where you didn't have money, where you didn't have division, where everyone was you know, able to do the things that they want to do within reason, you know, within, you know, humanity's benefit reason, then you still get these individuals who would want to do these things. But I personally don't know if that's true, because as we're all born babies, you know, unless there's some kind of genetic thing, we're all born blank, as it were, and we're all taught by different factors, some environmental, some, you know, peer to peer. Those babies are not killers when they're born. So what I think, there must be something that happens to people to make them this way, whether it's peer to peer or environmental. But if there is, then of course it can be stopped if we know what it is and how to change it, and how to make a world for all of us, so that we don't have to have all these unnecessary deaths, which murder is one of them, and of course poverty and malnutrition and bad infrastructure, of course, around the world is money and system causes those. I know I've mentioned that on previous, so I'm not going to go into that. Please check out the other videos on the Pursuit of Truth playlist and the companion of the Pursuit of Truth, which have the other videos, which I'm going to put the Libby Squire, if I can find on YouTube, and on the description. Take care, take it easy, God bless, peace.